Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, lived amid power, war, and turmoil. But what kept him calm and wise in the most difficult times? The answer is Stoic philosophy, the secret to living peacefully in a turbulent world. If you want to learn more about inner strength and how to apply Stoic philosophy to your life, subscribe to the channel and don't miss the next videos. Together, we will learn how to live peacefully and powerfully every day. He was the most powerful man in the world, yet he wrote in his journal like a humble student of life. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled over millions, who commanded legions and whose word was law, didn't see himself as a god among men. He saw himself as a servant to something far greater: wisdom, virtue, and self-mastery. In a palace gilded with luxury, surrounded by advisors and soldiers, Marcus spent his quiet moments alone with a pen, confronting his thoughts. Not boasting, not commanding, but reflecting. He had everything: power, fame, armies, and empire, but still he asked himself, what truly matters? And the answer was never conquest. It was never applause. It was never the throne. He wrote about humility, about death, about how fleeting praise and titles truly are, about how to stay calm in the storm, to do the right thing even when no one sees it. This man, this emperor, taught us that real strength is not in ruling others. It's in ruling yourself. So if a man with the world at his feet still practiced discipline, still questioned his ego, still reached for inner peace, what excuse do we have? The battlefield is no longer Rome. It's within us. And like Marcus, we can win, not by force but by choosing clarity over chaos, character over comfort, purpose over pride. You don't need a crown to live like a king. You just need to lead yourself. Would you like a version tailored for a YouTube voiceover style? At the peak of power, when most men lose themselves, he looked deeper within. Marcus Aurelius could command nations, yet he chose to command his mind. While others celebrated their victories with gold and wine, he wrestled in silence with questions no throne could answer. What is a good life? What does it mean to die well? Why do we chase what fades? He wasn't content with ruling an empire. He wanted to understand his own soul. In the quiet hours before battle or after meetings with generals and senators, Marcus wasn't plotting domination. He was journaling thoughts about mortality, about how short life is, about how foolish it is to chase power for its own sake. The higher he rose, the more he realized, the view from the top doesn't matter, if you don't know who you are. He saw through the illusion. The titles, the applause, the politics, they were all dust. What truly mattered was virtue, clarity, discipline, grace under pressure. And so, he turned his gaze inward, not out of weakness but out of strength. Because the hardest battle isn't for land, it's for your soul. If the most powerful man of his time questioned himself every day, maybe greatness isn't about having all the answers. Maybe it's about having the courage to keep asking. And maybe, just maybe, that's what real power looks like. Want this expanded into a longer format or woven into a full video script? When the world around him burned, he didn't flinch. He turned inward. While armies clashed and empires trembled, Marcus Aurelius found his anchor. Not in strategy, not in weapons, but in philosophy. In the quiet power of Stoicism. It wasn't just a set of ideas. It was survival. Every day he faced war, betrayal, plague, the weight of a dying empire resting on his shoulders. But still he showed up. Calm, clear, steady. Why? Because he had trained his mind like a soldier trains his body. The Stoics taught him, you can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond. That became his compass, his shield. When others panicked, he paused. When pain struck, he endured. When death came close, he welcomed it like an old friend, not with fear but with understanding. He didn't escape reality. He faced it, one thought at a time. The battlefield outside didn't matter as much as the battlefield within. And every time he chose courage over comfort, presence over panic, he won. That's the power of Stoicism. It's not cold. It's not detached. It's discipline in chaos, clarity in noise, peace in the storm. And if it could hold an emperor steady while his world collapsed, imagine what it could do for you. Would you like all three parts combined into one seamless narrative? He never meant for the world to read it. He wrote to remind himself. In the midst of wars, plagues, and political chaos, Marcus Aurelius kept a private journal, simple, personal, brutally honest. He called it nothing grand. Just thoughts. Just reminders. But centuries later, the world would know it as Meditations, one of the greatest works in Stoic philosophy. He didn't write it to impress. He didn't write it to publish. He wrote to stay sane, to stay centered, to remember what mattered when everything around him tried to make him forget. Each line was a lifeline. A quiet rebellion against ego, anger, fear. He reminded himself to be patient, to be kind, to accept death, to do his duty without complaint. No editors, no audience, just the emperor and the truth. And that's what makes it powerful. Because it's not philosophy from a podium. It's philosophy from the battlefield, from the heart, from a man who had everything, yet still questioned himself every day. His words weren't meant to echo through time, but they did, because they were real, raw, timeless. So when you read Meditations, you're not reading history. You're witnessing a man fighting to live rightly, one thought at a time. And if it helped him, it can help you. Would you like this fourth part to be connected with the previous ones in a flowing script? He understood that the world could shake, but only if you let it. Marcus Aurelius knew something many never realize. We are not disturbed by events. We are disturbed by our judgments of them. The storms that raged around him, the betrayal, the war, the sickness, they didn't define his peace. What defined his peace was how he chose to see those things. How he chose to respond. In times of chaos, Marcus practiced the Stoic art of reframing. When others saw obstacles, he saw opportunities for virtue. When others saw suffering, he saw lessons in endurance. When others saw failure, he saw the chance to practice resilience. The key, he believed, was in how you framed reality. The external world is beyond our control. The way we interpret it, however, is entirely in our hands. And this is the power we wield every day, not over what happens but over what we make it mean. Your circumstances might not be perfect. You might be facing difficulties, challenges, or losses. But how you meet them, that's your choice. That's where your power lies. So when life throws its hardest punches, remember, it's not the punch that matters, it's your response. What you choose to believe, how you choose to look at things will shape your world. The emperor knew that. Now you know it too. Would you like these 5 sections to be refined into a smooth script or adjusted for any specific format? He didn't need to conquer nations. He conquered himself. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful ruler in the ancient world, was first and foremost a master of one thing: discipline. While others sought power through force, manipulation, or grand gestures, Marcus sought it through restraint. In the quiet moments when no one was watching, he practiced self-control. He didn't let his emotions rule him. He ruled them. It was in the small, daily acts of self-mastery where true strength resided for Marcus. A calm mind amidst chaos. Patience when provoked. Humility in the face of success. Discipline, he believed, was the highest form of strength. Not the ability to command armies, not the power to demand obedience, but the capacity to say no to impulses. To choose the long-term good over short-term gratification. To remain steady when life tries to knock you down. In every moment, he asked himself, how will I respond? The answer was never with rage, with arrogance, or with fear. The answer was always with calmness, clarity, and control. This wasn't weakness, it was the ultimate power. The ability to decide what mattered, and to act on it without being swayed by emotion or external pressure. True strength isn't about how much you can control the world around you. It's about how much you can control yourself. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. And that's why, even at the height of his power, he was at peace. He had mastered the one thing that truly mattered: himself. Would you like this section tied into the broader story or left as a standalone message? Even at the pinnacle of his reign, Marcus never forgot who he truly was. He was the emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the world. He wore the purple robes of authority, gave commands that echoed across the empire, and controlled the lives of millions. Yet every day he reminded himself of something simple: I am just a man like any other. Despite the grandeur of his position, Marcus refused to be fooled by the illusion of power. He knew that a crown was just a weight on the head, not a mark of superiority. That title didn't define his worth. His actions, his character, his ability to remain humble, those were what truly mattered. He was conscious of his humanity, and in that he found his strength. He didn't allow the trappings of his empire to cloud his judgment or inflate his ego. Instead, he grounded himself in the realization that, like everyone else, he was vulnerable to time, to fate, and to death. His power was temporary, his body fragile, his legacy uncertain. Every day he checked his own arrogance at the door. He stood not as a ruler above others, but as a man among men, subject to the same laws of nature, the same struggles, and the same mortality. And that, he believed, was the true measure of strength. To be humble in the face of power. To remember your humanity even when the world calls you a king. So, no matter how high you rise, don't forget that you are just a person like everyone else. The crown doesn't make you greater, it makes you more responsible. And humility is the true strength that will carry you through. Would you like to weave this into the broader narrative or keep it as an independent reflection? When the world was falling apart, Marcus stood still. Plagues swept through Rome, battles raged across his empire, and the loss of friends and comrades became a daily reality. Yet, amid the chaos, Marcus Aurelius remained calm, his inner peace untouched by the storms that surrounded him. While others feared death, he embraced it as part of life. When disease claimed lives, he accepted it as the natural course of things. When war threatened to tear his empire apart, he focused not on the violence but on his duty. He didn't let the world disturb his mind. For Marcus, true strength wasn't in the ability to control the world around him. It was in the ability to control his own reactions. He understood that external events, whether pain, loss, or conflict, are beyond our power. But how we respond to them, that's ours to choose. In the face of suffering, he chose peace. When his body ached from illness, he did not complain. When his empire was on the brink of collapse, he did not panic. Instead, he reminded himself, "This too shall pass." His practice of Stoicism allowed him to see each moment, whether of hardship or ease, as an opportunity to practice virtue. He knew that a storm outside didn't have to become a storm within. And this was his secret. It wasn't that he was immune to suffering, it was that he refused to let suffering control him. Even in the darkest times, Marcus taught us, the mind can be a place of peace if we choose it. Would you like this added to the larger script or used as a standalone insight? Marcus Aurelius knew that death was not something to fear, but something to accept. He was an emperor, the ruler of one of the greatest empires in history, and yet he faced the reality of death with a clarity that few ever truly attain. He did not see death as an enemy or a curse. To him, it was simply a part of life, a natural conclusion to our time on earth. In his meditations he wrote, "Death smiles at us all we can do is smile back." What does that mean? It means that death is inevitable, but it doesn't need to be feared. What matters is how we live until that moment comes. If we live a life of virtue, purpose, and inner peace, death is nothing more than a final transition. It is not something to run from, but something to embrace, for it is as much a part of the human experience as birth, love, and struggle. Marcus believed that the fear of death often clouds our judgment, distorts our priorities, and keeps us from living fully. When we live in harmony with nature, when we understand that death is neither an end nor a punishment, we can live more freely. To fear death is to fear life itself. But Marcus Aurelius chose to live as though every day was his last, not out of fear but out of awareness. He did not cling to life. He accepted each day as a gift, knowing that death would come when it was meant to. In his view, the question wasn't whether death would come, it was how we would live while we still had the chance. So if you live rightly, death will never be your enemy. It will simply be a natural part of the journey. Would you like this part to flow into the larger narrative, or would you prefer to keep it separate for reflection? Marcus Aurelius knew that time, once lost, could never be regained. He was a man who lived at the center of the most powerful empire in the world, yet he understood something that many of us forget in the rush of our daily lives. Every moment counts. While others wasted time chasing fleeting pleasures or indulging in distractions, Marcus lived with a purpose. His life was guided by a clear aim, to serve. Serve his people, his family, his empire, and most importantly, his own higher self. He didn't seek fame or glory. He sought meaning in every action, every thought, and every decision. He wrote often about the preciousness of time. Don't waste time on what you don't care about. For Marcus, time was the most valuable resource. It wasn't something to squander. Every minute was an opportunity to do good, to practice virtue, to be present, to be thankful. He didn't wait for the perfect moment to act. He made every moment perfect by giving it purpose. Living with intention was his way of ensuring that no moment was lost. He didn't let his days slip by in mindless routine. Each day was a new chance to align with his values, to serve a cause greater than himself, and to practice gratitude for the gift of time. Marcus' message is clear. If we live each day with purpose, if we show up fully to our work, our relationships, and our responsibilities, we make every moment worthwhile. Time is not infinite. And neither is our opportunity to live fully. So, how are you spending your time? Are you living with intention? Marcus Aurelius chose to serve with gratitude and purpose. It's a lesson we can all take to heart, because the moments we waste today are gone forever. Would you like this section to be integrated with the other themes, or used as a standalone insight? Marcus Aurelius stands as proof that true power doesn't come from wealth or status, but from within. He ruled an empire, commanded legions, and held the fates of millions in his hands. Yet, despite the grandeur of his position, he lived simply. He didn't indulge in luxury, nor did he let his title define him. The most powerful man in the world was also one of the most humble. In his life, Marcus found the greatest victory, not in conquest or wealth, but in inner peace. He understood that true freedom isn't the freedom to do whatever you want, it's the freedom to master your own mind. While others sought power through force or possessions, Marcus sought it through wisdom and self-control. He didn't need to boast, to dominate, or to seek validation. He found contentment in simplicity, in the quiet practice of virtue, and in the calm of his own thoughts. His freedom was internal, a victory over fear, over ego, over the distractions that pull us away from our true selves. And in that freedom he was untouchable. No matter the chaos around him, no matter the demands of his office, he remained at peace with himself. Because he knew that the greatest triumph isn't about the power we hold over others, it's about the power we hold over ourselves. In the end, Marcus Aurelius reminds us that we can all achieve this freedom. No matter where we stand in life, no matter what we achieve, we always have the choice to cultivate peace within. And that peace, that self-mastery, is the greatest victory of all. Would you like this to conclude the entire message, or integrate it into a larger reflection on Stoicism and inner strength? Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully the lessons from Marcus Aurelius and the Stoic philosophy will help you live a stronger and more peaceful life. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section and subscribe to the channel to watch the next videos.